Good morning. I'm Rev Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. This year, I'm going through the lessons as I have in the past, and I'm asking Jesus for clarity. I'm writing from that clarity, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. So let's get started. We're on lesson 218, still in the review. I am not a body, I am free, for I'm still as God created me. Only my condemnation injures me. My condemnation keeps my vision dark through my sightless eyes, and I cannot see the vision of my glory. Yet today I can behold this glory and be glad. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I absolutely must let go of the desire to condemn. It doesn't matter who I condemn, myself or another, it's all the same. Condemnation keeps us separate. And in our separation, we cannot know ourself, which is one. I see this as uncompromising. I cannot condemn even one person, or the whole is no longer whole. I cannot condemn in part, mostly loving someone, but judging some aspect of him or her. The decision to love in part is not love, and it will keep me blind to who they are, and so keep me blind to who I am, since we are the same. I've learned to love everything. I love that there were hurricanes, and I love that I left so I didn't have to experience it. I love that there was damage to my house, and I love that it's been repaired. I love it all. Everything is either supporting me or it's offering me opportunities for healing. Both are welcome. I love everyone in my life, whether they agree with me or disagree with me. When I have a moment of insanity and believe that something shouldn't be happening or that someone is not lovable, I have another golden opportunity to look with the Holy Spirit at my mistaken beliefs so they can be corrected. I'm learning to laugh at my errors. To take them seriously is to make them feel real in my mind. I can close my eyes to my glory, but I cannot diminish it. I am still as God created me. This morning, while taking my shower, my mind was wandering, and I suddenly realized I was condemning someone for a past behavior. This behavior was not important to me, wasn't affecting me in any way at this time, and barely did when it happened. It was just a memory coming forward for me to look at once again. As soon as I became aware of it, I examined it with the Holy Spirit and realized right away that it was just the ego wanting to revisit one of its stories. I'm not interested. I let it go. Shortly afterward, the ego tried again with another story. This is what the ego does, but I don't have to give it my attention. So I released it and reminded myself that this kind of thinking has no value. I remembered that the peace of God is my goal, and condemnation is not going to bring me peace. It never has. The ego argues that remembering these past grievances and holding on to them protects me. It keeps me from being a victim again, the ego says. But I never was a victim to anything except my own desires and my own choice to use the ego to interpret circumstances. And I don't need the ego's protection. I don't need the thinking mind to help in any way. That was the big ego lie. I have another way now of living. I'm learning to surrender decision making to my holy self rather than to the ego. I ask what it is I am to do now, how I am to understand the present experience, or even the memory of a past experience. I ask what I'm to say and to whom. Life is easy and peaceful and happy. This remains true until I slip back into deciding for myself, that is, with the ego. and this is happening much less often. I know now that any desire to condemn takes me right out of peace. It shrouds myself in darkness so that I don't experience myself as I am. It moves me further from my true nature and keeps me from experiencing the love of my Creator. How is that protecting me? Clearly, it is not protection, but injury. This is why I quickly and easily move out of these memories. I'm just not interested, nor do I regard any of the ego's attempts to interest me in its kind of help with current problems. Here's Regina's tip for this lesson. She said, if we decide that certain circumstances are justification for our judgment and condemnation, we've decided those same circumstances are a good reason to suffer. By making this choice, we have also decided to prefer to focus on illusion than to realize truth. The ego, which is a wish to be focused on illusion instead of realizing truth, will come up with certain circumstances that seem so absolutely to justify our judgment. But that is just the ego preferring attention on illusion rather than truth realization. Do not be fooled by the ego's tricks. Whenever you're tempted to condemn, ask yourself this clear-minded question. Do I want freedom and truth? If the answer is yes, then shift to a spiritual practice that will help free you from the current temptation to judge and condemn. And my thoughts on that, one of the ways the ego tries to tempt me into condemning myself is to question my spiritual path and to question my ability to walk it. Each time I slip into old-minded thinking, even if it's only for a few minutes, the ego mind wants to think about how I'm not doing this right and that I never will. It insists that I'm just kidding myself when I think I'm doing well, or in its more vicious moments, it thinks that I'm an outright fraud. At the least, it wants to think about how I have it all wrong, or that I can't tell the difference between following ego and following spirit. I can sometimes feel fear pass through me when this happens, but also know now that this is the usual ego thinking and doesn't mean anything. And so I turn from it and toward the light. It is in light that we see clearly, not darkness. I know too much now to fumble around in the dark when light is readily available to me. I'm no longer willing to suffer as I used to, now that I know I don't have to. There is an ego thought system in my mind, but there's also the Holy Spirit, and it's my choice, the one I turn to. Thank you so much for sharing this lesson with me. And if you found it helpful, then please like it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And I will be back later with another lesson.